I think with this one, we need to take it a level beyond. The Magi greatness is amazing, but this chapter, Magi devastation. Magi devastation. Oh my fucking god. If you could comprehend how incredibly anxious I was for this chapter, you would be like, bro. Oh my gosh. Let's jump into it. That Magi greatness. So this is the moment we all been waiting for since the very beginning of this flashback. We've been waiting to see what would be the downfall of Al-Mataran, who would be Kyoku, and how would it all start, and just ultimately where it would go. Now, one thing I gotta say for starters, after the events of this chapter, Solomon, you better fucking snap out of it. He needs to snap out of it at this point, and I'm pretty sure he will, because if you remember the flashback we've seen, I think we've seen it a couple different times, but in the flashbacks that we've seen prior to this one, where we got like little glimpses of Al-Mataran, Solomon had said, so you couldn't let it happen after all, which means he's probably going to come back to his senses and realize, holy shit, you know, I need to stop this one last time. Either that or this decrepit, ready to die Solomon is going to have to do whatever he can to stop this and create this world alongside Ugo. This chapter, oh my gosh, between the feels of this chapter, the craziness of this chapter, and finally getting what we've been waiting for ages now to see what ultimately will be the downfall, it's overwhelming, to be honest with you. It's overwhelming. Being realistic though, putting my fanboy aside and putting just my overall excitement aside, if I had to say one thing about this chapter that I think definitely should have been improved on, was the pacing. Ultimately, I think that this fight between Queen Sheba and Arba should have been a lot longer than this one chapter. Like, as much as I cut it and slice it and dice it, which there is some reasoning why it went this quick, but ultimately it just should have been a longer fight. That's really the only thing I could say, because other than that, the diabolical nature of Arba, everything that went down, it was like, oh my fucking god. So we begin with Solomon is basically about to pass away. This thing has taken his body to the point where I'm guessing one of the major things that it did is it made him really, really old, and it fucked his mind up to the point where, like, you know, when you get so old, sometimes you start losing your memory and you just get all warped and shit. That's what it did to him, and he's at the point right now where he's about to pass away in the beginning of the chapter, and Sheba's trying to do one last hoorah for him before he passes away. And pretty much Arba's like, it's not happening, bro. It's not happening, because at this point you can already see that she is like, get the fuck out of here. He is not our god. He can go fuck himself. And it just makes me really wonder what was up with Sheba, because in this chapter we finally see Sheba with that look in her eyes where her like pupils are just completely just fucked, and it's like, so what was it with her at this particular point? I think one of the big things is there was a mixture with her, and I think this also adds to the reason why she did lose very quick. You can see at this point that Arba pretty much is just not having it. Like, she has already denounced that in her mind he is not God and he can go fuck himself. I really wish this flashback would have dived more into Arba. That's one of the regrets I have as well coming into this chapter. I think at this particular point later on we're going to get more into her and why she ultimately did this, because it seems like Arba, her nature by nature, has always been this way, because she even said at this point, yeah, Solomon, you tricked Sheba. She basically tells Sheba, you know, he tricked you. Solomon is basically like a false prophet. So in her mind, I'm guessing that one of the big things is that either after he did that, she completely went batshit, or even before that, she was already kind of, you know, fucked up. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, it was a glimpse of how fucked up she was when she went straight into that room and just stabbed David straight in the face. So you can already see that she was not all there. But I would have liked to get a little bit more of maybe a lot of this flashback from Arba's perspective, things of what she was thinking was going on, because it wasn't until that moment where they were in the room where we finally got to see her full on go crazy, and she was like, this is the one thing I can't accept. So right now, in my opinion, Arba is just like a crazy religious nut, but to the next level, because she's actually witnessed God in pain, and this made her go fucking batshit crazy that first David would do this, and then Solomon would remove God and try to take his place. And the thing that I'm wondering as well, because if Solomon at this point is controlling destiny, he became God and he's the one controlling everything that goes down, then wouldn't he be able to stop this? The only thing that I'm thinking why he can't stop this is because Arba was in that room when that happened. So his control of destiny doesn't affect only like the people that were in there. So pretty much the Magi are the only ones that are able to change destiny, and that's why Arba is able to do this and make everyone, including Wahid, Phelan, and Ethnon, all fall into the depravity as well. If it wasn't for Arba, none of this would have happened. And I'm not even just meaning like her being evil. Her power, her immunity to Solomon's control over destiny is what's fucking everything up. And for the most part, a good chunk of the stuff that happened in this chapter were the events from 215, where Arba's playing innocent, pretending to cry there. Sheba, you've changed so much. Look at her. Queen Sheba's different now. This was all 215 coming into play, so we finally got to see this content. And I believe in May, Otaka was already talking about doing these things. And it's really a shame, to be honest with you, because you could definitely see in this chapter again that she sped things up way. She probably was going to do this arc for another 10, 20 chapters. And while, again, it was, in a way, it felt like it was very slow paced, but it needed that because at the end of the day, like, again, this chapter just went, the fight should have been like a good 10 chapter fight, or a 5 chapter fight at least, and to get it all in one chapter is a bittersweet feeling. I understand, to be honest with you, I really understand why it went down like that, because at the end of the day, if you look at it, Sheba is mentally distraught after everything that's happened. She's about to lose her husband, the love of her life, the man that pretty much rescued her from fucking despair and everything that she was into when she was little. So she's about to do that. She's pregnant. Who knows how far along at this point. It's probably been months and months that she's been pregnant. So she's already weakened by that. And then ultimately when Arba whips out the Black Root, something they've never really faced like that before, and all those Black Root monsters, and then absorbs it into her body to fight her, Sheba never stood a chance. So I kind of understand why she fell down so quick. And I mean, at the end of the day, if Arba didn't do it, she had all the followers right there. Sheba had no chance. She was basically jumped and gangbanged. And I mean, this chapter just brought so much material from the beginning to end. Finding out that it was actually Ugo and Sheba that created the 72 tools that basically resemble the staff, so that way they can have magical powers for everybody. It was just like, you got so much content and so much good stuff in this chapter. It was like the climax. We even find out in this chapter that Arba was the one who found out how to turn White Rook into Black Rook, and she's the one that made everyone fall into depravity that way. Again, it's probably because of her immunity that she didn't follow Solomon's, like, you know, plan, or shall I say, destiny, but everyone else is not following it because she made them fall into depravity. Because let's be real, even especially when we got that emotional part where we see everyone in the past, how they were all chummy with Sheba and loving her and everything, they wouldn't have allowed or done any of this had they been in their right mind. It was a big push from Arba pushing them that way, like, you know, oh, you're right, no, you're definitely right, destiny's not right. Had Arba not pushed them that way, they might have just followed Solomon's plan. But I'll be honest with you too, I honestly think that Solomon, it humanizes him and I like it, but ultimately he is a flawed person. He has flaws just like everyone else. I think it was probably a bit too arrogant to do this. Like, maybe he should have discussed this a little bit further and not just jumped and said, no, I need to become God. And then by him doing so, he left his wife vulnerable. I mean, granted, he probably had no idea what would happen ultimately with, like, Arba being able to do these things and betraying him, being the one that stabs him in the back. And the crazy thing, the ironic thing, is that was one that he said right before he jumped into the portal, I trust her the most. And yet she's the one that stabbed him in the back. She's the fucking Judas of this shit. And I gotta say as well, as far as friends go, fuck Wahid, fuck Phelan, fuck Ethnon, and fuck Arba. All of them. Because at the end of the day, regardless of what they did in this chapter, it disgusts me. They're fucking pieces of shit. They're good pieces of shit as far as that's what they should be, because they're villains. It makes, especially Arba, number one, Arba, it makes me hate her and love her at the same time. I hate her for what she did. I hate her for taking Sheba's life and fucking just the way she did things. But that also makes her an incredible villain in that aspect as well, that she is so fucked up. She is so evil. She is just a nut. And for the people that want to come and say, because I have been hearing controversy that people don't like that Arba hasn't been explained enough in this flashback or whatever, at the end of the day, first of all, there's clearly a lot more to Arba than meets the eye. She's been fucked up for a long time. And we probably will get it at some point. But for the most part, as of right now, she is a huge worshiper and a huge lover of Elah, Il-Elah. And she went nuts when she saw what David was doing and then what ultimately Solomon did. Pushed the man that she worships, the thing that she worships the most. He pushed it and said, no, I should be on top of you. And basically she felt like it embarrassed the person, the thing that she followed for probably her entire life. And she ultimately went nuts. At the end of the day, for example, I don't get why people like a character like the Joker, and this is kind of a little bit going off topic, but a character like the Joker from Batman, he's nuts. That's all there is to it. He's nuts. Arba, she's nuts, but she has a purpose, and I think that makes her fucking crazy as hell and an awesome villain. I mean, how many people can say that the main villain is fucking going crazy and trying to destroy everyone and kill everyone because she loves God. Again, Westboro Baptist Church, you guys ain't got shit on Arba. Now, something that caught my eye, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna get more explanations as to what she was referring to, but Arba started saying the 8-pointed star, something along the lines of that, the 8 pentagram star, is the truth of the world and what governs the world, and she's doing it in that name. So there's probably more to that as well. Maybe that has something to do with Il-Elah. I mean, I wonder if Solomon's seeing any of this in Arba, but he ultimately overlooked it, because at the end of the day, when he does say that dialogue, which he probably will say in the next chapter when they face off for the final confrontation, you couldn't let it happen in the end after all. Maybe he knew that in the end she was going to be the one that did it, and maybe he said, no, I'm going to push past it. Maybe in Destiny, he knew that this would happen, but he ultimately tried to push past it and thought maybe Arba wouldn't do this. Maybe when he started controlling Destiny, he couldn't actually control it. He could just see its path. Maybe he doesn't have control over it. And then that Sheba versus Arba. Again, Sheba fell too quick, but to a certain degree, it's understandable. She's pregnant. She's depressed and mindfucked from her husband about to die. Arba has these black roots that Sheba's never really fought like that before, and the black root monsters powering her the fuck up. It was not going to be that long of a fight to begin with, regardless of how long Otaka. Maybe it could have been like she could have put up a little bit more of a fight, use a little bit more of a board, because it was just over in a flash. And I would like to see a little bit more of this in detail when they ever, if they ever do an anime, you know, season 3 of this, because I need to know exactly what was that final clashing that she did to her, because it was just like she powered up and then blam, and then you see them, you know, her on the ground. It was kind of sad that the only thing Sheba was really able to do was blast off one of Arba's braids. And hands down, probably the craziest panel that I've read all fucking year out of every manga was, "You can drop dead without worries, Queen Sheba." I was like, yo, Shinobu Otaka, like, what are you doing to me? And I'm curious why she took Queen Sheba's crown. Was she jelly? Was it that she's just ultimately making a statement? No, I am the true queen. And now it seems as though she's heading towards Solomon. So this is definitely the beginning of the end. Probably 2 more chapters at most of this flashback and we're over. Which, again, the speed up at the end felt unfortunate, but ultimately it had to happen because it is what it is. It's a business. People want to see Aladdin again. I want to see Aladdin again, but at the cost of fucking up the pacing of the story. In retrospect, I would have rather have another 10 or 15 of these just to make it flow better. And I ain't gonna lie, again, I got very emotional at the end of this one. When I read it, I was thinking to myself, God, this is so sad when Harook is leaving her body. And Ugo, you fucking, like, I was annoyed at Ugo. He comes too late, first of all, and then, like, after this, in a way, if you look at it, it's not like he's gonna tell Solomon, let's fight back. I really hope in the next chapter 2, he tells Solomon, we need a crusher or something, and he gets really fucking angry, because we know that Ugo does develop a temper. I mean, look what he did to Judal over him, just kind of hurting Aladdin, so he does have a temper inside of him. I hope he says something like that, because other than that, it's just gonna kind of feel like he's a scientist bitch, because it's kind of like, okay, well, she just did this, let's fucking hightail it out of here to another world or some shit. It's like, you fucking better get angry after this, after seeing this little girl that you practically raised along with Solomon and everyone die. Do something, Ugo. Stop the science and kick some ass. And 100% confirmation, it was Aladdin. I mean, we all for the most part knew it, but getting that, it was just very impactful. And when this is, if this is ever animated, this is going to be just a phenomenal work, a masterpiece right here. Like, the fanboy in me and the love that I have for Magi says that this chapter is 10. Realistically, because the fight went too quick, I would probably say it's like in the 9 area, because at the end of the day, that should have been a lot longer. But just overall, everything with the impact with her saying, you know, Aladdin, I wish I could have hugged you, it just really got me very emotional. It was just really done very well. And Sheba falls after, you know, telling Ugo her son's name. Now, I think one of the things that Ugo too took from that is she just died entrusting her son to me, and that's why Ugo does everything he does for Aladdin. And it kind of makes you wonder as well why he made Aladdin stay in that dungeon for so long. Was there a particular reason? Did he have to wait for Solomon's command? Why did he make Aladdin wait in there for so long? And also, it makes me think as well, the reason why Ugo can possibly never leave, you know, he had to at least leave his head inside the dungeon, is because Ugo is probably controlling everything. It's probably his design that is leaving everything there. Who knows? Maybe if Ugo's head was to be destroyed or some shit, maybe everything, including the dungeons and magic in general, might just disappear. Who the fuck knows? And also, a quick theory, maybe it was David, King David himself, that started all this when he left before he, you know, blew the fuck up or whatever. Maybe he was the one who left some of that black root behind and it infected Arba. Phenomenal chapter of Magi. Again, realistically, I'd give it a 9 out of 10. Me loving it, and as a fan and everything, to me, it was a 10 out of 10. It was just absolutely incredible, and it's like, Oh my fucking god, Arba, you're a nut. I fucking hate you again. One more time for the road. Fuck Ethnon, fuck Arba, fuck Wahid, fuck Phelan, fuck Thamen. You guys are fucking dicks. You're fake friends and you can eat a fuck in such an epic way. Let me know what you guys think. First of all, Sheba versus Arba. Was it too short? I think anybody can obviously see it definitely went by too quick. Although, to be fair, again, it does have a purpose to be too quick. I mean, Black Root powering her up against a pregnant, depressed woman? Also, do you think in the next chapter he's going to snap into his right mind and go up against Arba and take her down? And how is he going to do it? So many different questions, theories, anything you have to say about this chapter. How did you feel about it? How did you feel about that Magi greatness? But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, you can do so as well. That'd be awesome. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, that Magi greatness never fucking ends.